Alright, let's start. So, apologies if you hear a lot of noise from the outside. My noise cancelling software isn't working uh, right now. So, well, that's life. Okay. Alright, so first off, dealing with two nuclei. Okay, so if you're in effects, you can go to nParticles, and like we discussed, go to create emitter. You get emitter 1, nParticle 1, and nucleus 1. Okay, so if I move the emitter like so, we get our particles. Let's turn these into spheres. Spheres. And let's give it assign a red color for that. Okay, so particle 1 coming out of emitter 1 being controlled by nucleus 1. Right? So now I can add another particle. If I go to nParticles again, just go to create emitter again. It gives me a second emitter. I can move up here. If I go to my particle, change their colors to blue. Let's make it cyan. Make this spheres as well. So you see now I have two of them, but you'll notice here in the outliner I don't have a nucleus 2. Okay, so what happened here is by default, whenever you create another emitter or another particle system, right, it puts that particle system into nucleus 1. So both of these are being controlled by nucleus 1. So if I turn gravity off for nucleus 1, you'll see both of them will now not have any gravity. Okay, you can control them individually as far as their colors, right? So nParticles, they're separate, right? See, I have two different colors here. Emitters are still separate. I can have a low rate for this one, right, and a higher rate for this. In this one, I could have a higher speed. Okay, so as far as that, they're still separate. It's just that they're both under nucleus 1. So if I add, let's say, wind to nucleus 1, they all get affected by that wind. Right. Now again, that happens because by default they get assigned to nucleus 1. If you want your second or your succeeding particle systems to be in a different nucleus, which can be, just go to nParticles, create emitter, go to your option box, and then here you can choose create new solver. So if you choose that, every time you create a new emitter, create a new particle system, it will create a new nucleus to go with it. Right? So that's a matter of preference. Now, if you have something like this, where you have existing particles and you want to separate them into a different nuclei, okay, you just go up here, fields and solvers, okay, fields and solvers, assign solver, and then say new solver. Okay, so I want to pick which one. I want to get this one. Then you go to fields and solvers, assign solver, say new solver, and see it makes a nucleus 2. So now you see it's falling with the gravity of nucleus 2. And at any time I can switch them around. So I want this one to be nucleus 2 as well. So nucleus 2. Okay? If I want this one in nucleus 1, I just go there, right? Fields and solvers, assign solver, nucleus 1. Or if need be, you can have a third nucleus. Just say create new nucleus. And you know that's pretty much it. So you're not stuck with uh, them just being in one nucleus. There are times you might want them to be in one nucleus. It might be more efficient that way. There are times where you might want slightly different settings per particle system, so you'd put them in a separate nucleus as well. Also, take note that n objects or nucleus objects in the same nuclei, or the same nucleus, right, will interact with each other. Okay? So if I create an n-cloth object, so n-cloth is still under my nucleus. If I get these points, I'll transform. Oops, no. I have to create the cloth first. So I have to make this a cloth object. You see I have a new cloth object, but no additional nucleus. So let's add a transform constraint. Okay, so this is now following nucleus 1, or 2, I think, because there's no, which one has no gravity? So nucleus 1. Okay, so if I add gravity to this, see it falls, and this particle interacts with this cloth. Okay, if I want the red ones to interact as well, I can grab those and just switch them over to nucleus 1, and while I'm here, I'll up my rate. Speed maybe 2. 150. There we go. So now you see, aside from them interacting with the cloth, they're actually colliding with each other, because now they're in the same nucleus, right? And this cloth will actually can actually affect the particles. So if you watch the particles fall, they create ripples on the cloth, right? So they're affecting the cloth. The cloth can in turn affect the particles as well. I can have them like flip up really high. As you'll see here. Okay. So it's not just n particles, but n cloth and n hair. So as long as though any n object exists within the same nucleus, they can interact. Right? And that's pretty much it for handling multiple nuclei in nParticles in Maya.